Hiya world, I want to talk a little bit about amplifiers today. It is an opinion piece, I suppose, and there are one or two sort of anecdotes that I want to share with you just about why I think that the traditional hi-fi amplifier needs to be rethought for the 21st century, for the 2020s, I suppose. Because with a few little bolt-ons and additions, it really is a section of the hi-fi market that hasn't really moved a lot in probably however long they've been making hi-fi amplifiers. What would that be? 70 years, something like that. To start out, I've been looking a lot at Reddit over the last month or so. I've just become a convert. I'll put my Reddit description down below so you can come and find me on there. I'm part of a couple of the turntable and vinyl forums on there and discussions. One thing that I keep seeing is in the vinyl discussion rooms, I'm a beginner. I'm 18, I'm 19. Just started out my collection. What do you think? And here's a photograph of maybe they've got about 20 albums in their collection. And of course you want to be encouraging the stuff. And, obviously if you like the style of music that they're showing you, then you say, great, yeah, fabulous albums, lovely, whatever. But it reminds me in a roundabout way of when I first started taking my photography seriously, and I did a 3-year degree course in it at the University of Westminster. And the first assignment that we were given to do, I thought I'd use my friend's kids as a subject, and we were wandering down to Hastings seafront, down onto the beach, and I had my little notepad of all of the particular photographs that I wanted to get at whatever apertures and what have you. And I had this huge camera. My friend's little boy, Michael, who would have been about maybe 8 at the time, looked at me and said, "How do you take a selfie on that?" And I looked at this huge thing with all these buttons and knobs on it, not even a tilty swivelly screen though. I said, I don't know. You can't on this one, it's too good for selfies, I said to him. But of course, I know that it's wrong. Now transplant yourself into somebody that is buying their first hi-fi. Let's say it's a Rega System 1. Let's put the buyer of that piece of hi-fi as being a 19-year-old, 20-year-old Reddit contributor, just got their first job, in their first throes of getting a decent income, and there they are, and they're thinking, right, yeah, it's $1,000. I get a Rega P1 record player, I get the I/O amplifier, and I get these Rega Kite speakers. Because they've got this hi-fi thing, and they're the first of their mates to get this hi-fi, and they've got a dozen or so records, and they have a bit of a hangout, a bit of a party with their mates. And then somebody comes up to you with a mobile phone and they say, "Oh, how do I stream? How do I stream a piece into there?" Because there they are, got all their albums on Spotify or Apple Music, and they can't play the damn things through the system. They've just spent $1,000 and they can't play their blooming songs through the system from their mobile phone. I have talked about this before. It was 2 years ago, and really I think this whole idea of these beginner vinyls only having about a dozen sort of albums to play. Yeah, of course, if they're anything like me, they'll be trawling the the charity shops. I wasn't that particular, shall we say. I've even got a Bruce Springsteen LP, for goodness sake. Up until now, I mean, we're really talking about the last 5 years, somebody buying a turntable would have had a very cheap way to explore loads of music, because every second-hand shop has a box of records in it, and basically second-hand records are all over the place and can be had for a relatively small amount of money. But that was really until Spotify and Apple Music. And it's really turned the tables against vinyl, because a subscription to Apple Music is £10 a month or something. You know, I couldn't live without it now. And I have to say that it's a great way to discover new music, to discover those albums that you might actually want to buy on vinyl, to ignore it that hi-fi manufacturers do at their own peril. All right. So that is really my anecdote number 1 or 2, really. Just sort of trying to make this comparison really between my friend Michael saying, how do I take a selfie on this whacking great camera that I've got here, and you can't even do something as simple as take a selfie on it, and can I plug my iPhone in here? Well, the answer is, I haven't got my phone with me actually, but the answer is no, you can't. No, you can't. There's no USB, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no Bluetooth. I made a video a couple of months ago now about the Mercury and Solis, which are going to be these new pre-power amplifier things. And I said, where's the Brio? We need a Brio. We need a new modern Brio. And really, I suppose in this video, perhaps part of that would be exploring where the I/O fails in today's world, and what the Brio would have to do at not a significantly more expensive price to put that right. Now, I've made the argument before that amplifiers nowadays have too many line inputs. Unless you really have got a higgledy-piggledy great pile of boxes that you need to plug in from your legacy 1980s hi-fi days, if you're tech mode, in other words, then you might need that many line input sockets. But nowadays, the person buying the Rega System 1 will be looking at the specification of the I/O amplifier, and they'll be saying, well, what do I need these 2 line inputs for? I need the phono stage, has 2 line inputs and a phono stage. I need the phono stage because that's where my P1 record player gets plugged into. What do I use the line inputs for? One solution that is current might be to plug a laptop in via the laptop's headphone out. Even the new iMacs, the M series chips iMacs, have got headphone sockets on them. On the Mac, you can use the Audio MIDI Setup app to configure your headphone output socket as an optical digital out socket, which means that on an amplifier or even a CD player with a separate DAC, like the Rega Saturns, can take an optical digital input, and you could get round the problem that way. But if you've got an amplifier like the I/O that doesn't have a digital section to it, you've got the Rega System 1, you haven't got any other hi-fi components at all, you haven't got a CD player that might have digital outputs on them. A lot of them do, even the very cheap ones, from at least from the 2000s, if you could find one that still worked, would have a digital output, an optical output. But then you still can't play your Spotifys. You need to be able to plug a laptop in. The simplest thing, Rega, is to put a USB thing in. USB technology is as old as the hills. Even in its USB-C thing, it's been around a long time. It is surely not that expensive to put a USB-C thing in. So that at least if you had the right phone charging lead for your iPhone, for example, you could at least plug it in. Wireless and Bluetooth might be a long way away, but I really do feel that Rega are missing a huge trick, and any hi-fi manufacturer that endeavours to manufacture a basic amplifier for the 2020s, you ignore USB at your peril. Yes, I agree, IO. You don't need 5 or 4 or 5 line inputs that some of these things have got here. The Ethos has got 5 line inputs. That's because it's got no phono stage. But you don't need that many line inputs. You probably don't even need 2. If you need 1, possibly give us 1 line input, a phono stage and a digital stage, a USB socket, basically. Remember to like, share if you're there, possibly consider a super thanks, subscribe, do all that stuff, and I will see you very soon. Thank you. Bye bye.